Hello, hello, and welcome back to episode 5 of Thinking Out Loud podcast with myself, Marissa Wu, and my bestie, Ashlyn Little. So today we are going to go over an extremely, really vulnerable topic. But before we do, we're just going to, let you guys know what we've been doing and how life has been. So, Ash, how have you been? How's everything?
Everything is amazing. We're kind of just rolling where we are right now as far as, my off season. We have like a couple more weeks left. And then we're going to start in April. So we'll just start, dialing everything back. And then once, I actually did have a phone call with Cash, and he just said that, both of us kind of had the idea of pushing as close as we can to, the cutoff for the Olympia. And now we kind of changed our mind to letting my body just do its thing and not forcing anything, but not pulling back either. So basically, if I get ready, before the time that we were planning on doing it, doing a show, then he said that we will just go ahead and put me on stage, do what we need to do to get the qualification. And then, just depending on how many times that takes, then we will go to a little break. And depending on how much time we have until the Olympia, then we'll just coast, into the Olympia. But I like that because even if we were to do, I don't know, like a late July show or something, like, let's say my body's ready in July and he wants to just throw me on stage in July, then I'll do that July show, and then we'll see kind of, only a couple more weeks until I'll really have to like get serious and dial back in. So it's really not going to be that far apart as it was last time. So I'm excited. We'll just kind of play my body, by ear with how it's doing and how quickly it's responding. I don't have as much body fat on me this time. So it's not going to take me that long to get lean, I don't think. My back shot is usually the most stubborn part. The back of my legs and my glutes, that usually takes, some grinding to get down, but based off of how quickly my body responded last time, um, and knowing that I'm in such a better spot this time, I don't really think that I'm gonna have, that big of an issue getting lean. So it'll be good. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it right now. I'm just chilling, enjoying the next couple weeks until I have to start prep. I'm gonna go see my mom for Easter, and then I'm going to Miami for like a while, which I'm coming to see you.
Yes.
So I'm excited. Nothing crazy, just enjoying life right now, and then I'll be starting prep soon. So what about you?
Love your plan. I saw your check-in today and you look amazing. Yeah, it's definitely I think this has been the most optimal off season you've ever had. So I'm
Thank
excited for your
you. Yeah.
season. What's happening with me? Oh, what's not happening with me? God, life has been lifing. Lots of changes. So I've kind of, I did that Q&A thing on my story the other day, and I've just kind of let a lot of, everyone, my followers kind of know what's going on. But basically, I I moved out of my San Diego apartment back in like November, December, put everything in storage and actually went to Dubai and just was going to live there for, the year until I wanted to relocate in the States. But, things happen and my ex fiance and I, we were together, but obviously we're not together anymore. Nothing bad. We're still in good terms. We're still there for each other, support each other, but we've parted ways. So I'm back in America and I am moving to Miami and I'm so
Yes,
freaking excited. Literally, I think it was the best for me. Everyone's like, why Miami? Why Miami? I was like, well, first off,
because I'm over here. That's why.
that's all. That's the only reason.
See, it's the only reason.
Well, the amount of questions I've gotten since I've kind of announced like I moved to Miami were, oh, so you're living with Ashlyn. I was like, no, who said that? It's like the number one assumption, but like literally all my clients are like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about, the breakup and all that, but like at least you're going to be close to your best friend." Like I've gotten that from like 10 of my clients.
Hey, we
And I'm
have to
like,
look at the
yes,
bright side, okay?
silver lining. If I'm not in a relationship, I'm in a twinitionship, whatever you want to call it.
28
So
shit.
20-ish and shit. So yeah, some big things happening. I went back to San Diego, packed everything. Well, everything was packed up, but loaded my car up to ship it out, got my storage to be shipped out. So everything's en route right now. And then next week, I'm going to be a Florida resident. So big, big changes. I'm super excited. It's just going to be, a fresh start for me. And I'm really excited because I'm going to be close to friends there. I've got you and Janine and Jody and Masa, like a lot of my really good friends that I just haven't seen in a long time. So for me, I'm ready to just focus on myself and my business and my growth and that aspect. So yeah, that's what's happening with me as far as life goes. Bodybuilding goes, I'm in prep, but I've just been really stressed out with the move and the travel and everything. So I'm just ready to settle in Miami and just get a good group going. But that's where I'm at right now. But everything you already knew, but now our peoples can know too.
Yes, yes. And I'm so like obviously under different circumstances, I wish that, you know, it wasn't happening the way that it did, just because
Mhm.
obviously like I always want you to be flourishing and, every single aspect of your life. But new chapters are always a really good thing, and so many opportunities are ahead and so many good things are coming, so it's just such a positive like thing. I think that is going to be an addition to your life, and I'm just so excited for you to be so close to me. I'm like, I've been wanting you to move to this coast for so long now, literally since I moved here.
I
And
know.
you've been on the verge so many times, like you're like thinking
So
about it,
many.
looking at places randomly, and now you're finally here. So I'm so freaking hyped. You have no idea. But
Oh,
everybody, I'm
I'm
not
so
even in
excited.
Miami. I
I
am in
know.
Tampa.
I
But
know everyone's like, "Are you living with her?" I'm like, "Well, first off, she's not even in Miami."
no, I will be visiting though, and I'm so excited to see you. But yeah, I'm in about 4 hours away, which is still way better because I can just drive to you, so it'll be fine.
Literally. No, we don't even need a well, it's better than being a 16 and a half hour flight away from me or literally across the country. So I'm excited. So I'm closer to you, closer to my athletes, closer to my family. So all silver lining.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
But this is, a perfect segue into, what we're touching on today in our episode, which is defining what an independent woman is. And this may look very different to different people, depending on your situations. And that's just something that we want to talk about more so because we want to empower women no matter what situations you're in, whether you're in a relationship or not, to have your independence and what that may look like to us and to others. So, we're just gonna kind of dive in. I mean, we want to talk about our experiences, our upbringing, and obviously our experiences in relationships that have molded us into, what we define as an independent woman. So I'm just going to give it over to you about, your upbringing and your past experiences and, how that has shaped you and molded you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love this topic a lot because I feel like that it's something that isn't touched on, frequently. And I will honestly say that having something like this in my life was the reason that I was able to get out of a very horrible situation. And so of course it is something that I always strive to, try and be a, positive role model for girls who are in a situation that was similar to me, especially because a lot of people don't realize how many women go through stuff like this. And so it's definitely something that I've wanted to talk about. I wasn't really able to touch on this. In my past, I was still healing. I still had, a divorce that I was going through, which is finalized and all of that stuff. So, um, you know, when you're going through something so traumatic and you're still healing from all of that stuff, it's hard to talk about. It's hard to open up and let people know, the truth about things and what really happened to you. And, also you do want to protect, yourself and just guard, your heart because you've been hurt. So, A lot of that stuff is just hard to kind of like open up and talk about, especially to just literally anybody who wanted to listen. So, um, yeah, I mean, I grew up, I'll get to that part, but first, I did grow up in, a very fortunate situation. My family has always found the means to take care of me and my brother. I just have one sibling. I do actually have a half sister, but she was not part of our life at all. I didn't actually meet her until I was older. I had already, I was already in high school and stuff. But I had a really great family. Both my parents are, amazing people. And they raised me and my brother to be, good people and to work hard and all of those things. But when I was in school, my family really just wanted me to focus on school. They didn't want me to have a job. They didn't want me to focus on any of that other, trying to pay for my car and all that stuff. My dad was, amazing. He bought me my first car and never wanted me to, pay a dime for it or anything like that. And to be honest, I never really paid for anything. Like I didn't pay my first bill on anything, not even a phone bill or nothing, until I was like 20 or 21. Um, and, I was living with my dad and I was in school and he always told me, like, I'll take care of you as long as you're in school and as long as, you have like a little job on the side where if you want to buy things yourself, like if you want to go get your hair done or you want to go, shopping or you want to go out with your girlfriends or whatever. He's like, you can have a job and pay for that stuff. But, your bills, your necessities that you need, he always took care of. And my mom did as well. They both pitched in and they helped me, and I'm very, very, very fortunate for that. But I will say that it took me a while to really grasp the concept of, paying for things and doing stuff like bills and like all of that. So I really do wish that, I did have that sooner in my life. Because when I finally did start paying bills and did start doing those things and like growing up and being an adult, I felt like everyone that I knew that was my age was already doing that type of stuff. And I just felt very behind. And I didn't like the fact that I felt like I needed to depend on my parents. Like I didn't like that. Like I always told myself like I didn't want that, it was just kind of forced on me and it was just something that I was like, okay, like it was easy, right? So it's when it's easy and it's comfortable, you kind of just fall into that. But when I started living with my dad, I started realizing like I don't want to live with my dad anymore. Like I want to have my own place and I want to, I don't want to have to tell my dad, "Hey, my bills due this month." Like I want to just be able to pay it and so I was going to school part-time, I was working full-time. I worked at an office, a sleep lab office that my stepmom actually owns. It's a sleep lab clinic and they test for sleep apnea. And I worked there full time. I worked 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and some weekends. And I went to school from, it was like, I think class started at 7 and I was done by almost 11 at night, like every night. And I did that for a while. And yeah, it was hard. Yeah, it was draining, but I was really determined to, save a bunch of money, get out of the house, do all that. And um, I think that, once you start working really hard for something, you start appreciating the things that you have so much more. Like when my family would buy me stuff or my parents would pay for my car, like, I would, bump a curb or like a tire would pop or something. I wouldn't even care. And now it's
Hmm.
like everything that I have, I've worked so hard for, and I don't ask my parents for a dime. I haven't asked my parents for a dime in a really long time. And like I went through a marriage, and through that marriage, I was still struggling. Like I had, obviously I had been a lot more on my own by then. But I was all my bills were basically being paid and I was like making ends meet every month. Like I never had like the means to go get my extensions done. I never had the means to go be able to just get my nails done whenever I wanted. Like all of those were like special occasion type of things. And when I was married, it's not just you anymore, it's also them. And I took care of us a lot, during that time that we were together. And it's definitely something that, I was ended up being in a very horrible marriage and a very horrible situation with somebody that, wasn't a very good person to me. and I'm just going to leave it at that. But, when you get in that situation and you're very unhappy and you don't really have, anywhere to go because of, you maybe don't have the money to go somewhere, or maybe like, you're scared or whatever the case is, but it's like you never want to be in a situation where you're stuck ever.
Hmm.
And in
Yeah.
the very beginning of our marriage, I was stuck. I didn't make enough money to be able to just pay movers and fly wherever I wanted and do all that stuff. And in the very beginning, like I was struggling still. We were paying off his debt. I was helping pay off his debt. I was just basically hustling all the time. And I felt like it was like by the end of the month, it was like, where did all of our money go? Like that's always how I felt. And so during that time, I literally was like, I am going to do whatever I can to literally just like bust my ass and just like try and make as much money as I possibly can. And hopefully, the more I put into my job, the more I put into what I'm doing, the better I'm going to be and the more money I'll end up making, which is exactly what ended up happening. I mean, I poured everything into my job. I poured everything into competing. And obviously that really helped me, grow in what I was doing at the time, which was coaching and also competing. And it was, I just treated it like I had no other option. I was like, if I want to really be in a happier place and in a better place, like, and I don't want to feel stuck anymore, I have to do something that's going to help me get out of that. And, I just think that I don't know what would have happened if I wasn't able to get out of that situation. Like I always think about that, and I always am like questioning, like, I don't know what I would have done. But since I poured so much into what I was doing at the time, it really just helped escalate like my business. And I was like, all right, here we go. Like I started taking off, and I ended up getting a raise from my job, and I ended up getting in a comfortable situation where I was able to get movers. I was able to fly out of there as soon as I needed to. I was able to, take a few weeks off of work because I was like, hey, like I have stuff going on right now. I need this mental space is like really hard for me right now, and I need, some time. And of course all my clients understood and everything, but that was a very traumatic time in my life. And it's definitely something that I'm just very thankful that I started telling myself, like, this is important to me. My freedom is important to me. My happiness is important to me. And you're only going to get that by flourishing in obviously a positive environment, and then also really being around like people that truly care about you and love you. And I was in a really dark place, like a very dark place. And I had to shut all of that out and just pour everything into what I was doing just so I could get out of that situation. And you just don't want to ever find yourself in that situation. Like I can't say it enough. Like you never want to be in any sort of environment where you have to stay there because you have no other choice. And that's, where I was for a while. And I clawed my way out of that. I was like, there's no way. There's no way I'm staying in this. But I will say, like, depending on people and being independent is huge. It is like one of the biggest things because you never want to be dependent on anybody because you're going to get yourself stuck in a situation like I was. And I had to suffer for years to before I was able to get out of it. And no one knew, no one saw it on the outside. My family barely knew. I didn't tell anybody. I suffered in silence. I never told even my closest friends, even you. Like,
Hmm.
no one knew what I was going through. And I did that because I knew if people knew, then it would be like, oh, let me help you. Let me do this. Let me do that. And I was like, no, I got myself in this situation. I'm getting myself out of this situation. So I did what I had to do to, just really hustle and pour everything into it. And yeah, it was hard, but when you really want something and you really want better for yourself, you're going to do what it takes. And it may take a while. It's not going to happen overnight. And it's just one of those things where, I started like realizing when I was dependent on my parents so much, I was like, oh my God, like, I don't like this. Like, I don't want to be dependent on them. They can tell, they throw, like, they could easily just like throw it in my face if they wanted. They never did that. But I mean, like, they could have. And they easily could have, just stopped whenever they wanted. And then I would have been screwed, So it's like you just never want to be in a situation where you're just constantly, you know, looking for, handouts and things like that. Like, you're going to value what you have so much more, and you're going to take care of it so much more. You're going to love it so much more, and you're going to have so much more pride for yourself if you just, kind of go that extra mile and really focus on what it is that makes you happy, and not be so, consumed with what you could get instead of like things that you could do for yourself. And that's going to be so much better of a reward for you.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, God, I couldn't agree more with everything that you just said. And I mean, it's crazy how similar our upbringings and experiences are. My mom and dad, even though they divorced, they always put myself and my brother first. They always made sure that we were taken care of, and they made sure that if we wanted to do something, if we wanted to go to a school, that they would help us. I mean, I would always say I wasn't spoiled, but I was very, very privileged. And I know that now, just looking back at everything. Don't get me wrong. My dad and my mom still inflicted, like, okay, you want this, okay, you need to do this around the house. You still need to earn what you want, but we'll still find a way to make sure that you get it. And even to college, like just like you, they covered and funded me a lot. And I worked, I had some jobs here and there to, just like you, to pay for extra things that I wanted, but of course they didn't cover my living expenses and essentials. My mom and dad helped me throughout college until I graduated, because that was basically our agreement. You get your education, you focus on that, and then once when done with school and you have a career, you have a job, then everything's on your own. And for me, I got into a relationship in college, and then obviously as I graduated college, I was still in that relationship. And with that relationship, I didn't realize it, but I ended up depending on him because he gave a lot. He was very much so, okay, I'll take care of this, I'll take care of that. He grew up really fast because he moved out early. He was in the military. So he kind of knew how to adult better than me. So he kind of took on those adulting roles. And for me, as I segued out of college, obviously I jump started my career with coaching, but that, as you know, it takes a while to build that up. It takes a while to make good money from it that covers all the expenses and essentials to live off of. So, he and I, because he was in the military, he also got, a decent amount of money from being in the military for living and whatnot. So, he did take care of a lot of stuff. And I honestly didn't realize how dependent I was on him until we started getting into, more, I'd say a little bit more of a toxic relationship, which just wasn't a healthy relationship. And I started to think, okay, well, what if we aren't going to stay together? What if we break up? Okay, well, what am I going to do then? And then obviously I kept pushing my business. But at that point, we had overlapping businesses. We were coaching together. We owned a team together. He was also my coach, and he was also my fiance. So everything was intertwined with him, and I also depended on him for happiness. And that was probably the most unhealthy thing to have in a relationship. Don't get me wrong. Your significant other, your partner should make you happy. They should, I'd say they complete part of you, but they are not your end all be all. And I learned that the very hard way, because when we broke up, when we split, it was a very, very hurtful split. He did things that I couldn't deal with anymore, and I had to move on, and he had to move on. And from that, I learned how to become independent because of that traumatic event. And sometimes it takes traumatic events for that to happen. But from then, I promised myself, okay, I'm never, because I did lose myself with him. I lost my identity. I lost my passion and my why for a lot of things. And not many people saw that, because I tried to put on a strong front for myself, for my family, for my athletes, for my friends. I don't want people to worry about me. So I try to make sure, like, hey, look, I've got it. I'm good. But, I went through a very, very dark time as well. And I sat in that darkness, and I asked myself, okay, what is going to make me happy? And it's myself. I have to make myself happy. I have to provide for myself. And I can't depend on anybody else, not just significant others, but family, friends, to help me at the times where only I can pick myself up. And I promised myself any relationship going forward, I needed to be in control of my happiness. And if I felt like I was giving too much, because it is very, for myself, it's very hard not to give. When I'm in a relationship, when I'm with a significant other, I like to give 125%, and I don't know how to hold back on that. And sometimes that hurts me more often than not. But no matter how loving I am, no matter how much I give, I have to remember that I have to put myself first, where, my independence, my happiness, my work, my career, my family. I need to make sure I'm fueling myself with what's going to make me happy, and I don't empty myself to the point where I have nothing left to give. And so, even from that, when my ex Jamie, he obviously lived in Dubai, and we met in Canada. And the first, year and a half, I was like, no, you're not paying for flights. I'll pay for my own flight. I'll make my way. I'll pay, you get the Airbnb, I'll get the rental car, so on and so forth. I've always made it a point that, okay, what I can take care of, I'll take care of it, because I never ever want one, not that, every man is like this, but I would never want my significant other to hold it over my head like, hey, I paid for this, so you need to do that. And, my ex never did that, but I never want that going forward either. And I also want to, I pride myself in being able to provide for myself and then provide for others that I love. And with that, I also think that a lot of women also put up with a lot from, whether it be family or significant other, because they're being funded by them and they don't have that independence. And like you said, sometimes you feel stuck if you depend on someone else. And then, okay, are you really living out to your truest self? Are you really happy if you feel like you can't speak your mind, or you can't get up and travel to where you want to because you depend on other people? And I think, it is a touchy subject, because I think independence looks different to different people. But as women, that for us, we own our own businesses. Right now, we're both single. Independence to us means a lot, because I think independence do define us as our characters and how we carry ourselves with not just our significant others, but our friendships and our relationships outside of our partner. But
Yeah.
that's my take on that.
Well,
Um,
I will say that independence to me means control. I have control over my own
yes,
life. I have control over whatever decision I want to make that I feel like is going to be best for me. And no one is hanging anything over my head as to, well, I'm giving you this, or I'm doing this for you, or you should be grateful for this, this, and this. And it's like, I would just much rather have everything that I work for, whether I, make ends meet every month, but still being able to have control over my life, or, making more than enough of what I need, and just being able to, you know, have that control over like what I want to spend my money on, or if I want to save, or if I want to travel, or whatever the case. And it's just about control to me. Like, I don't want anybody to control me, and that's exactly what my situation was in the very beginning, because just like you said, he was more of an adult than I was. Like, there were so many things that I wish that I would have known from, growing up, or things that I wish that I was taught from my family, but since they kind of like really catered to me so much and I allowed it to happen, when I got into this serious relationship, was the first serious relationship that I've ever been in. Um, and he was much older than me. I want how old? I think we were like 6 years apart. I think.
were you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think so. Wait, wait, wait. Hold on. So no, 4 years. 4 years. Sorry, we're 4 years apart.
Okay.
But those 4 years was a huge, it like, honestly, like, he's like an old soul. Like, he has done a lot in his life, like gone through a lot of experiences, all of that. And he was married before me twice. So me, just coming out of this is literally the first guy that I'm dating outside of high school. When I met him, I think I was 24 when I met him. Um, but I was a very young 24, because like I said, I just started paying bills when I was like 20, 21. And it was like small little things. It wasn't like, big things. So just where I was when I met him experience wise and where he was, we were just completely different. Like I was very naive. I hadn't really had a lot of experience in things. And he was the opposite. So just like how you were saying, like it was just more, he was just more of like an adult. I clung on to that and I was like really allowing him to steer the relationship for a very long time, which ended up making him feel so in control. And then when I started making money and he kind of took a step back, then it was more like now everything I'm making is his. It's like I like he took control of that and really wanted to just take control of everything. And I allowed it, because I didn't really know what else to do, and he was obviously intimidating to me. So it was definitely something that, and obviously I really loved him. Obviously, like I was very very much in love with him, and it was just something that I was like, yes, whatever you say, yes, like no talking back. Like I just did what he said. But it ended up getting me into a very very bad situation, and when it gets to that point, that's whenever you have to really take the reins and make changes in your life. So but you have to be aware of that. Like you can't just allow stuff to continue to happen knowing that it's not right and then not doing anything about it, because when somebody has control over your life, it is the worst thing that you can possibly deal with. Like you never want to be in a situation where somebody controls everything that you do and what you do. So it's really important to be able to kind of like find those things and being able to like pull back and navigate and really figure out like where did I go wrong and how do I fix this? And that's pretty much what I did for, a couple years. Like I was really just analyzing, how did I get here? What do I need to do to get out of this situation? And, I did what I had to do, but it's all about like, to me, independence 100% will forever just be about being able to control your own life, your own path, what you want to do, what makes you happy. All of those things are going to be crucial. And if you have somebody that's steering that ship for you, then it's not going to be good. You're not going to be happy. It's because you're not the one making the choices.
Exactly. I mean, in retrospect, it's hard when you're so deep in it because just like you and I, you've got blinders and you don't even realize how far gone you've been and how deep in the hole you are till I'd say it's too late or you can't really fix it at that point. Because the dynamic of the relationships develop together, and if you start losing your independence and giving him that control so early on, it's only going to be a domino effect. And just like you, it for me, it was much too late when I realized how much I've given as far as my happiness, my independence to this is my previous my ex like years ago. And to the point where I either became mute and didn't say things when they bothered me because I was like, well, I don't want to poke the bear because I'm dependent on him. And I did. I went mute. I didn't say things that bothered me. I didn't speak up for myself. I didn't have a backbone in a sense of standing up for how I felt. And that was just a trickling effect to, what transpired down the road. And I was uncomfortable with situations with him and, his clients that he had that were women. And I didn't say anything. Or if I did, I would kind of hold back on how much it bothered me. And I look back now and I'm like, why did I let it get to that point? And that's just like you. It's like, how did I get to that point? It's because I gave everything as far as who I was to him. And sticking up for myself and defining how I felt was all dependent on how he was going to react or how our dynamic of the relationship is. And I think I want to voice all this to anyone who's listening. If you're in a relationship or even going forward, the things to be aware of for yourself so that you don't ever get into a situation where you can't get out of. And I think going forward, both Ash and I have set boundaries and standards of how we want to be in a relationship because of our past experiences. And every person, every situation is going to be a lesson. And sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, but you have to take into account how you as a person has changed for the better or the worse and how you want to change going forward to make sure it doesn't happen again if it was for the worst. And honestly, I know we're talking about relationships a lot. Independence doesn't always have to be stemmed off of a relationship, finding your independence when you're together with someone. Being alone is the most empowering thing. And, no matter how much we love somebody or, how good a relationship is, being alone is also a very good thing, because being happy with yourself, alone with yourself, and being content with that is probably the most respect that you can give yourself. And just because I'm fresh out of a relationship right now, yes, it's hard, but at the same time, I know I'm going to be okay because I've been alone before, and I know that I can be happy on my own. I think Ash and I were talking about it. It could be a toxic trait that we are so okay with being alone, like we don't mind dying alone.
I know, I'm literally like, all right, been single for a year now, a little bit over a year now. I'm kind of like, all right, this is fine. This is where we're gonna be.
This is where we're at. I mean, you've got bossy at least. That's honestly the one thing I am so shattered about, the dogs that we had in Dubai.
I
They're
honestly, yes, bossy is like everything, but I will be so freaking honest with you. I would much, much rather go to sleep by myself every single night and do what I need to do during the day as long as I get to decide what I'm doing every single day for the rest of my life, as long as I get to decide. Like, I want to
yes,
wake up, and if I want to go to the gym, I'm going to go to the gym. If I want to do this, I'm going to do this. If I want to go travel and see my friends, I'm going to do it. And I'm not going to have anybody say, you're not allowed to do that, or I don't like the fact that you're doing that, or why do you feel that you need to do that? It's like, I am, I just, if I'm going to have a significant other, not only are they going to trust me, but they are going to add benefit to my life. They're not going to weigh me down. They're going to respect me. Like, I'm just not going to ever put up with anything ever again, because trust me, I've done it. And you let one little thing slip up, like one little thing. You think somebody is some way, and then you soon
mhm,
realize they are not who they said that they were, or who that they pretended they to be in the beginning. And as soon as you see that, you better get out, period. Like, if that's what you're seeing, if somebody, acts a certain way and you fall for that person and you really like them, and then they switch up, you better get out immediately, because that switch up is who they really are. The beginning
yeah,
was them pretending. So don't ever get fooled in thinking like, oh, it's just they're just having a bad day, or oh no, like, do not convince yourself, because I promise you that's who they are. That's probably who they're always going to be. And you just don't want to get yourself in that situation. You would, I would take being single for the rest of my freaking life, like, than having to deal with someone who, doesn't support me, doesn't trust me, doesn't love me, doesn't provide like just happiness around me, like positivity, like good energy. Like, if I don't have that, then
mhm.
it's a no for me. Like, I'll just be alone with Bossy and you.
And me. Our houses, we may not live together, but our houses will connect by the closets so that I can borrow all of your clothes. I mean, you can borrow my clothes, but you've got a lot more clothes than me. So
You can borrow all the clothes.
everything. I mean, I literally sound like a broken record, but I couldn't agree more. It's if you are anxious and waking up and going to bed thinking, am I happy? When am I going to be happy? Is this going to pass? Then you need to stick up for yourself and put yourself first. And when it does come to relationships, and you're asking yourself, okay, is this person changing, or are they going through a phase or whatnot? What I've learned is, if you're going through the hardest, darkest times with your partner, and your partner is going through the dark time in his or her life, how is he or she acting? How does he or she respond and react to what's happening in their life? And judge that and say, okay, can I deal with this for the rest of my life? Their darkest and worst times, how are they, and how can I deal with that? If it's something that is blown out of proportion and they start treating you differently, or and you're taking the blunt end of the stick, it's not fair, and you do have to get out of that. But obviously, when it comes to independence and happiness, it surrounds also like what you're saying, if someone has control, it's also with trust and security. So does that, and respect, does that person trust, respect you on all levels, whether it's your career or whether, it's the friendships that you have or even your family, you want to go visit your family often. I've heard of relationships where the significant other, I mean, you've been in it, but where you couldn't go see your family and you felt so trapped. And that is the biggest red flag. If you can't go spend time with your family without your significant other, blowing off, then that's a huge no-no. At least for me,
Yep.
because family is huge.
Family is
And
everything. Yeah.
exactly. And so I think it comes down to, okay, your partner is going to view you how you view yourself. So as cliche as it sounds, and how more easier said than done, you have to respect yourself, because how is your partner going to respect your independence and how you act and how you carry yourself if you don't even like and respect yourself? It literally stems from within. You cannot make someone love you. You cannot make someone respect you if you don't have those on yourself. If you don't value your own respect um and happiness within yourself. That's a huge thing I think a lot of people struggle with, is that they don't realize it's more internal than external.
Yeah. And a lot of it too, though, it's of course it's internal, but why you need to figure out why. Is it because
Hmm.
of the person that you're always with that's making you feel that way? Is it them making you feel insecure? Because if that's the case, then it's like, okay, like where is this insecurity coming from? Is it coming from because stuff that I dealt with, as like growing up? Is it stuff that maybe my parents did? Is it stuff that, is it just me being like mean to myself? Or is it the person that I'm surrounding myself with? Is it them that's kind of making me feel that way? Are they doing things that's making me feel that way? And if they are, and they're just telling me that it's me, then, maybe you should look at that situation and be like, hmm, like, but I wouldn't feel this way if you were making me, going out of your way to really like just not do those negative things. Like if you're going to do a negative thing, like let's say it's flirting with girls, let's just give a random example. Let's just say that, you and your guy go to the gym and your guy feels the need to, flirt with girls that are there or whatever, but then wants to tell you that you need to get over it, you're just being insecure. No, that's ridiculous. Number one. Number two, guys do that to make you feel insecure so that you won't leave them. That's the only reason
Hmm.
that they do that, is to make themselves higher than you. They put you down and make them higher so they feel like, oh, well, she needs me now. And that's another reason why it's so big to be independent and have that self-worth for yourself, because because you can literally stand right there and be like, no, absolutely not. I do not need this. I do not need you. And if that's what you're going to play here, like you should know and be smarter than that and really just like think about that for a minute and just be like, no, if a guy really loved me and respected me and cared about me, they would never ever put me in this situation. So you always have to think about what someone is doing to you and how they're treating you. And if you continuously allow things like that to happen, then you're just putting yourself in that hole. But if you can be more aware and really be like, no, I deserve better than this. If this person really loved me and really cared about me, they would never make me feel this way. They would never put me in this situation. And that's when your independence comes out and you're like, I don't need to be in this relationship. I'm in this relationship because I care about you and I really like you, I really love you, and I really wanted this to work. But if I'm not getting, you know, what I should be getting out of a relationship, which is love and happiness. And, yeah, you're going to experience troubles in your relationships. Everyone does. But there's a difference in having some up and downs and then someone completely disrespecting you. And you need
Yeah,
to know when that disrespect is and not let that boundary ever cross its line. And you need to be able to stand up and say, nope, I'm too good for this. I'm not going to be putting up with this. I'm leaving type of situation. And when you have that independence and that control and that self-worth for yourself, you will not stand for anything that like that happens.
exactly. I mean, literally down to the point of, my mom has always said this to me, because she has always been the most independent woman I've ever known. And in all her relationships, she's always made it a point. I don't need you. I want you. And I'm with you because I want you. But if something happens and this doesn't work out, it's okay because I don't need you. And I think every woman should have that mindset going into a relationship and make it very apparent. I don't need you. I want you. So respect me. And I learned, for my very first engagement, I learned that I had to make sure that was well put and well said in the next relationship. In my most recent relationship, we both, communicated, hey, maybe we don't realize if something happens, if, because we're very nice people. So maybe being nice may come across flirty, but sometimes your partner may not even realize that. But hey, if that bothers you, let me know. You should have that open dialect with your partner. And if something does bother you, you should be able to voice it without you feeling reprimanded for it. You shouldn't feel insecure to voice your mind. If anything, you should, set that standard and boundary beforehand. And honestly, it's hard because I'm also a nurturing character. So when I am in a relationship, I actually have to be very, very cognizant and diligent with how I balance being nurturing, but also not losing my independence. Like I like to give to my man, but at the same time, I have to make sure I'm like, okay, am I giving too much to the point where it's like he is my end all be all and he's my only focus. So I have to make sure that I'm aware of that so that I don't set the standard of being I'm trying to find the right word for it. Not like over giving, overbearing with like that dynamic. Um, Ash and I have had a lot of conversations about this because, like, for example, I've dated and been engaged to bodybuilders. So we don't really do a lot of cooking dinners at night. So I like to prep their meals and make sure that they've got X, Y, and Z when we go out, and I'll prep their meals and whatnot. Cause that for me, that's how I like to play my role. But at the same time, you have to make sure you don't get taken for granted or taken advantage of in that aspect. And so just realizing what your role is without losing your independence.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, we definitely have talked about that a lot because I am the exact same way. Oh my gosh. I'm just
Hmm.
like, let me do this for you. Like, let me take care of this. Let me do this. And it's natural to me. And I thoroughly, like, I do enjoy it. Like, it doesn't stress me out. It
Yeah.
doesn't, like, whatever. But whenever I am stressed, that's when I need my partner to be like, no, you sit down. Let me do it today. You have a lot going on. Like, if I'm sitting there stressing out and they're still just letting me do everything and like not even trying to ask me if I need help or try and, just be like, Ash, like, I got this. Like, if they're not willing to do that at all, that shows me right there. That's when I'm getting taken advantage of. So there's a fine line of being like, oh, like, this is what I love to do because it makes me happy. It makes my man happy, whatever. But as soon as you have a bad day, what do they do for you? As soon as you are super stressed out, what are they doing for you? Are they still allowing you to do everything? Are they still just being like, well, like, you do this always. I don't want to do it, like, because I'm just used to you doing it, type of thing? No, like, that's not fair. And that's when you know that you're being taken advantage of. Like, it's different if you guys are both like under a lot of pressure. Like, let's say you guys are both working and you guys are both, just under a lot of pressure, but it's like y'all should be doing it together then. Why is it always just that one person? So it's just one of those things where I just feel like if you are a little bit more aware of things and your partner is more aware of things, or you're able to at least talk to your partner about it and just be like, like, I'm noticing that I do all of these things, and I would just love if, like, on days that I'm really stressed or I'm really busy or whatever, like, you could pitch in too. Like, I just want to make sure that we're both on the same page. And if they're not willing to do that, then that's a problem. Like, somebody that, really cares about you guys and y'all's relationship and just you as a person, they will want to, do what they need, do what's necessary to be, a good partner in the relationship. So I think just like keeping those healthy boundaries and just like being able to really communicate about those things is really important, because I was never like that. I never like tried to have those conversations or anything like that because I was just like, no, I don't want to cause conflict. Just like how you said, like, I was very just kind of, I just did it and I just sucked it up and I was just like, whatever. But it did make me very aware that now, going forward, if I am in a relationship and I see the guy is just, not trying to participate in anything or like help me out or do anything if I'm having a stressful day, that's an issue. And I'm going to bring that up. And like typically I would just let it roll off my back, whatever. But I've learned that you can't just continuously let things roll off your back, because then they start getting used to that. Then they start getting comfortable. Then they start expecting that from you. And you
Hmm.
don't want to be in that situation either. So it's really just like being able to communicate properly and respectfully. Um, like don't have an attitude about it. Like just be like, babe, like, like I just wanted to let you know this is something that I noticed. I didn't know if you noticed it too. Guys don't really notice anything, so it's okay to like, say that to them.
I blame it on your gender.
Yeah, not in a bad way, but it is funny. Most guys don't really pay attention to that stuff, and that's fine. But if you bring that to their attention and they're still not willing to do that, then that's an issue.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think that communication, being stern with what you want, being stern about having control over your own life and not letting people constantly hold things over your head, because you just don't ever want to be in a situation where you can't, get out of, or you're stuck or you're miserable or whatever. So I think that that's, all huge factors and things that, us women can really like do and put Put what am I trying to say right now?
Put her foot down.
Yeah.
Words.
Down.
Well, I mean, that's really what it is it's the communication, above all. It's like my past relationship, we we were able to communicate a lot. So even though I actually really enjoyed doing all the cooking and prepping and stuff, like he even said, he's like, you don't have to do that. I was like, well, thank you, because I want to do it, but thank you for saying that. And for me, at least, the recognizing, okay, you do all this stuff. Thank you for that. You don't have to do that. For me, at least I know, okay, then the days where I can't, or I don't feel like it, or I'm pressed for time, I'll let you know. And it's like, if you can't just have that simple communication, then that's already an issue. And again, it literally is a domino effect, and just literally swindles back to, are you independent and secure enough to voice to yourself, to have that communication, to have some sticky situation conversations? And I like, as much as you and I are very nurturing and giving, I've also realized, one of my good friends, who I met in the UK, Dubai, she was saying, she's like, don't change who you are, but maybe change how you approach your percent of giving. So I have this big issue of ending up with men who are like not in my country or in my state. I end up just meeting, dating, and then getting a relationship with someone who literally lives miles away
Welcome
from
to social media.
literally. I don't do dating apps. I just do Instagram. I'm not saying I'm gonna find my next man on Instagram, so that's not an open invitation. I'm just gonna be single for a long, long time. Um, but that's just kind of how the dynamic has worked the past few years, and because of that, I've gotten myself into situations where there's no like ease into dating. I literally go from, okay, let's fly, let's meet, and we're basically living together. And call me crazy, but that's just kind of how my little past few years of dating has gone. And because of that, I've not allowed myself to just give a small percent of myself. We end up living together and I give 125% every single time, because that's just how I am. When I love somebody, I just give them everything, as far as like as much as I can give them, to, care for them, show them I love them and whatnot. And I've realized what my friend was saying. She's like, give 10%, then give 20%, then give 50%. And then when you guys are deeper and deeper into the relationship, then you can give that 100%. And it's not about playing games or whatnot of like them earning it, but it's also about protecting yourself from losing your independence, protecting yourself from being taken for granted, or whatnot, so on and so forth. Again, every situation is different. I'm not saying that everyone needs to do this with a rule of thumb, but you have to be careful with your heart and your time and your space. And so I'm learning this the hard way. But I think that's how, me going forward, I have to I had to put boundaries for myself of how I am in relationships. And that's me respecting myself and my independence.
Yeah. And this, guys, all of this is coming from two women who love love. Like, we love being in
Love.
relationships. We
Yes.
we love love so much. Like, I love having a partner to share life with. It is everything to me. And I love, being in a relationship and having that person like by your side, of course. Like, as humans,
Hmm.
like, that's what we strive for. Like, we want to be in that human interaction, and loving and all of that, like, gushy stuff. Like, yes, we love that. And I think that it's so much in our faces now because of social media. And a lot of that BS is fake, let me tell you. So
Hmm.
it's just, and it's hard. And it's obviously like, you would never know. I mean, mine was fake. Like, my marriage was, and I'm talking about my marriage here, guys. My marriage was very like, it was like my feelings were real. My feelings. I loved this man so much, and I did everything I could to make him happy. Everything. Like, killed myself basically to make him happy. And I posted all the time about how happy we were, but actually at home we were very miserable. There's a lot of things, we had ups and downs. Obviously there was a many, many great times. Obviously, like, it's hard to look back because it's like, so it's just, it was a lot. I think it was just like, it was a very tough thing for me to leave somebody that you just had high hopes for. It was just like, I really just wanted this man to change. Like, I really thought he was going to be a different person with my help. Like, I thought that if, I nurtured him and I took care of him and I did all this stuff, that he would change and be the man that I fell in love with. But unfortunately, there were just two sides to him, and he couldn't control the sides. It was, a constant back and forth, and it was just very draining. So yeah, so it's just like, I didn't want to leave that relationship. I knew I had no other option because my mental health was so bad, and I knew that I wasn't being treated fair. Like, I knew that I deserved better. And when you get into that situation, it's just like, you don't want you don't want to lose yourself, like you were saying. Like, you just, once you start seeing yourself like completely gone, it's just like, it doesn't matter. So it's just something that, like, we just love being in relationships. We love love, but you have to know when enough is enough. You have to know when, okay, it's okay to be single. I'm gonna have many more opportunities to meet many other people, and we'll see if something else happens. I don't know, but I would much rather, like I said before, be single than be mistreated or be in a relationship where I'm being drained and losing myself and not having that, independence that I thrive off of. So, it's like, I would choose that. I would choose that every day if I had to, over what I was in before, just because I was in a relationship.
Yeah. And
It's
just like you were saying, it's like we love love as much as we love being alone. And that's
yeah,
very, very healthy. You should have a balance of sharing life with a partner. Like you said, we as humans were made to coexist with a partner. It's just the dynamic of life. But you should love being by yourself as well because, like we were saying, you cannot hang on to what someone's potential is. And that's where you lose yourself because you're hanging on to what could be or what you think he or she has a potential to be. And the reason why you lose yourself is because you're believing in a lie. It's not the reality. You have to take everything with face value, what's in front of you and how he and she is acting and treating you. And if that doesn't fulfill you of what you want to be in with a relationship with, or that's not the happiness that you have in mind, then you have to let it go, and I'm not saying that that's not something that you can work on, and take everything that we're saying with a grain of salt. This isn't what our experiences are from what we've gone through and what we've learned, but again, every picture of independence and happiness looks different to different people, and what you may put up with in a relationship is different than what we would because maybe your dynamic stems from something different. Maybe you've been through a lot with that person and this is you guys going through the growing pains together. But the end all be all is that you've got to be happy. If you are lying to yourself and not allowing yourself to voice yourself and actually live your fullest life to the fullest happiness you can be, then that's the end all be all. You have to be happy.
Yes, growth is important. You can't grow underneath a person who is stepping all over your flower bed. Okay.
Flower bed, yes.
How are you going to grow into the beautiful flower that you are if somebody's stepping all over your flower bed?
I can't with great analogy.
When someone's sitting in your flower bed.
When Bossy's just shitting in the flower bed and just taking the dirt.
Oh
With you.
man. I love
Well,
this.
I love this. I honestly, Ash and I said that we were going to do a segment on this like a week or two ago, and I was really excited about it because as women, we have to talk about it and we have to let other women know, okay, you're not alone. Whatever you're going through, I'm pretty sure 90% of your friends or family have gone through it too. But we're here to love you all, support you all, and have you know that you're not alone in any situation and that our experiences, no matter how dark they were, we've come out on the other side and we're also here for you. And you literally can DM us, flood us with questions because we want to just use our experience, not just as coaches, but our life experiences to help you all as well.
Yes, yes, we do. And that's another, like I always say, God put me what I went through so that I could help others who are going through the same thing or having similar experiences. And, He knows that I am in a position where I get to speak to a lot of women. I get to listen
Mm-hmm.
to, some of their life problems or, stuff that's going on at home and things like that. And, it's like as he let me and made me go through something like that just because, he really wanted me to be able to reach people. So, and you too.
Exactly.
So I love it. I think that it's amazing. We are so thankful that you guys continue to join us for, each week. And we're going to continue to share as much as we can with you guys. So continue to like and comment, subscribe, and share all of the things. And of course, let us know if there's anything you want us to discuss. And we just really love you guys and appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yes, yes, we love you guys all and can't wait to keep chatting about life with you all.
All right. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.